Council meeting for Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Ms. Hilbrick, will you please call roll?
Councilman De La Garza.
I am present.
Councilwoman Solis. Here. Councilman Crocker.
Here.
Councilman Lofgren.
Here.
And Mayor Bachnight.
Here.
And Councilwoman Scott and Mayor Pro Tem Young will not be joining the meeting tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Hilbrick. Before we stand for the pledges, I just wanted to pass along some sad news. We lost former Mayor John Blackaller yesterday. It's amazing. He was elected in 1981 for an at-large place number 4. At that time, there were 5 council members, and in 1982, he had to run again when it changed to 7 council members. Again, at-large place 4, and re-elected again to city council in 85, and then in 87 was elected to serve as mayor and served until 1990. He's also on the tax appraisal board, which Ms. Scott serves on right now from 82 to 83 and 84, 85. And he was also part of the last chapter, or I guess 2 charter review commissions ago, 1991. So when we take our moment of silence, if you care to lift up his family and your thoughts, so I think it'd be appreciate it. So at this time, you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. All right, Mr. Garza, do you have any announcements and/or reminders?
Got to turn it on. Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. We do have a few announcements this evening. I'll start off by reminding the public and you that Riverside Park will be closed starting at 3 p.m. on November 21st for the Texas Youth Hunting Program, Deer and Hog Hunt. The park will reopen the morning of November 23rd. For more information and to register for the program, please visit tyhp.org. Additionally, as you can tell, we're beginning to feel a little Christmas in the air. The Christmas tree is up at City Hall, and our Christmas celebrations are right around the corner. Our Christmas on the Square event will be held on Friday, December 2nd, starting at 5 p.m., and the HEB tree lighting ceremony will occur at 5:30 p.m. Street closures are already beginning and will begin the evening before to prepare for that event. The Christmas parade will be held on Saturday, December 3rd at 6 p.m., and so we encourage folks to come out. Also, we want to remind the public that applications for the Citizens Academy are still being accepted through November 16th. Interested folks can apply by visiting victoriatx.gov/Citizens Academy. Our police department and fire department will soon be on the court, and I will be testing their basketball skills in a charity basketball game against the U.S. Postal Service to benefit the food bank of the Golden Crescent. That'll be held on Sunday, December 4th at 1 p.m. at Faith Family Gym. So we encourage everybody to come out and watch the Chiefs duke it out. The Victoria Police Department will also be hosting a Blue Santa toy drive on Friday, November 18th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Target. And lastly, we want to remind the public, especially as temperatures begin to get cold and potentially we start approaching freezing temperatures this winter, that we do have the Victoria WaterWise water monitoring program that we encourage the public to sign up for. This system allows the public to track their water usage and be notified of potential leaks at no additional cost. And so we encourage residents to visit victoriawaterwise.com for more information and sign up for that service.
Thank you. And also, if I may ask, next week, is the city closed, offices closed for the Thanksgiving holiday?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yes, we will be closed Thursday and Friday of next week. Obviously, essential services will remain as scheduled.
Great. Thank you. All right, public and employee recognitions. I have one on there for a proclamation. Do you have anything else, Mr. Garza?
I do have a quick recognition. Happy to.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So really quickly, our Communication and Public Affairs Department, who we know is an award-winning department already, continues to be an award-winning department. They recently earned several state awards at a telecommunications conference where more than 300 videos were submitted from across the state. You might have seen this in last week's newsletter that went out. The team earned the Kurt Uggland Programming Impact Award for its coverage of the swearing-in ceremony of DJ Daniel, which was the same video that received an award last time. Of course, this prestigious award is presented each year by the Texas Association of Telecommunication Officers and Advisors for a video project with a strong community impact. The Communications Department also earned awards for the documentary titled Talking Trash, which features the lives of Victoria solid waste workers, and an event recap video of Riverside Stadium's 75th anniversary celebration. In addition, the department received an honorable mention for the Explore Your Victoria TV series pilot episode. When we first started these programs, we were doing these programs in-house, and they became popular, and now we outsource them, but those that received an award were produced internally. So kudos to staff. So really quickly, congratulations to the teams, which include Shane Blucker, Lauren Moe, Sam Hankins, Ashley Strevel, but especially congratulations and shout out goes to our talented videographers, AJ Gonzalez and George Partida, for their hard work leading these video projects. And so congratulations to y'all.
Great job. Okay, Ms. Hilbert, will you help me out with the proclamation?
Sure. Item B, 2A is the GIS Day proclamation. Whereas the science of geographic information systems connects people, regions, and systems, whereas GIS is an important part of geography awareness, helping people collaborate and share knowledge so that the systems we rely on and work each day. And whereas the City of Victoria is committed to expanding GIS to the schools and general public in order to showcase real-world applications with GIS, and whereas having a dedicated day of GIS activities for students, citizens, and government leaders demonstrates the benefits of GIS in a unique and concentrated way. And whereas Geography Awareness Week is November 14th through 18th and promotes geographic literacy in schools, and whereas National Geographic Information Systems Day is observed on November 16th, 2022, now therefore I, Jeff Bonknight, Mayor of the City of Victoria, Texas, do hereby proclaim November 16th, 2022 as GIS Day and urge all citizens to participate in GIS Day activities.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. The City of Victoria GIS Division will be holding its 18th annual GIS Day. We'll be attending two elementary schools today. We went to Smith STEM Academy, and tomorrow we'll be going to Roland Elementary, where we will be presenting to the 5th grade students, where we'll get an opportunity to show them geography and how GIS works through a PowerPoint presentation. And after the presentation, we will also take them outside and do a geocaching activity. And we'll let them show them how to locate points with the GPS, and then we'll bring them back inside and show them how it ties back into GIS. So we thank you for recognizing GIS Day. Thank you.
Thank you all. If no one's gotten on the city's GIS website, it's just a truckload of information that they keep up with. It's a very, very neat interactive map. And I encourage anybody that just likes to play around with maps like I do and nerd out on them. I really like to get on there sometimes just to pass the time. So thank y'all for everything y'all do. Items from council. Anybody got anything? All right. You're so far down there, Mark. All right, we're going to close items from council and go into citizens communication. I have Mr. Harvey Fisk first.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and interested citizens. At the last City Council meeting, a Victoria resident who supports the issue of removing books from the library made some statements that I take issue with. He implied that those of us who support the library were in favor of child pornography. That is not the case. What we are in favor of is supporting those individuals who may be different from us. The implication of those groups and individuals who wish to remove books from the library is that they are echoing the will of the citizens of Victoria. That is an interesting concept, since we really have no idea of what the will of the citizens is. We do not even know who would like to be our governor, since over 55% of registered voters fail to vote. All right, there's nothing wrong with the process, all right? Just only 45% bothered to vote. Many of the organized book banning groups started as opponents to masking and vaccine requirements in schools. From there, they branched out into the book banning business, citing parental choice or their interpretation of the Bible. They did manage to pick up support from crowd control experts such as the Proud Boys. Those who wish to ban books are attempting to eliminate or silence all those voices that they do not approve of because of the writer's viewpoint or because of their very identity. These are mostly marginalized or underrepresented voices and deprive all of us, young people in particular, of the chance to explore a world beyond the confines of personal experience. Librarians develop collections resources that make knowledge and ideas widely available, so people and families are free to choose what to read. Though it's natural that we want to protect young people from some of life's more difficult realities, the truth is that banning books does nothing to protect them from dealing with tough issues. Instead, it denies young people resources that can help them deal with the challenges that confront them. Efforts to censor entire categories of books reflecting certain voices and views shows that the moral panic isn't about kids. It's about politics. Organizations with a political agenda are spreading lists of books they don't like. It is significant that of all the books groups like this wish to ban from the library, 41% refer to LGBTQ subjects or authors. An additional 40% have main characters who are Black or brown. 21% have subjects about race or racism. Removing these books from the library sends a message to these marginalized kids that they are not welcome. If they cannot be welcome in the library and their stories are not welcome, where will they be welcomed? Those of us who have spoken in support of inclusion trust that kids and their parents will be able to have open discussions on what they see, what they read, and what they feel. As you move forward in selecting a new library director, we ask that you consider the needs of all the citizens, not just those who might be part of a large and vocal group. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisk. I just want to remind everybody that City Council has not advocated for or supported banning or any books in the library. The consensus up here when we discussed it was to make sure that library books that were in the minor section were age appropriate. We felt like that they could be in the library, and this narrative that we're for banning or removing or doing whatever with books is just a false narrative, and I just want to make it clear to everybody on what our intent has been, so that there's no more confusion and misinformation out there about that. And with that, Mr. Michael Von der Rohe.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Just wish the library director, the best of luck in her new career. As you know, she resigned. And just wanted to thank code enforcement. They got Jack in the Box to put up a fence, and TDECU, they tore down the fence and put a brand new one. And then they were going through the alley to go to HEB so they could jaywalk, and they sealed the alley with metal so they can't get through. So now they're forced against their wishes to do it by the law and use the light. So I appreciate code enforcement. They got 4 mattresses thrown all over the city, and they got 3 storage bins removed because they would just throw trash and mattresses all over the place. And on Rio Grande, that's between Ben Wilson and Lova Drive, it looks like the new Under the Hill in Victoria. They got like several apartments, and you can't report it to code enforcement because there's no addresses on none of the houses. It looks like it's as big as a train, as far as debris and stuff. And you'd have to hire a full-time code enforcement officer just to do that street, and I went to get my free hot dogs from Daryl, but he wasn't there last week and stuff. So I think it was because of the weather. So they're probably going to do that Keep Victoria Beautiful probably next year at the beginning. I think Keep Victoria Beautiful, everyone involved with it. So thanks and have a good day. Appreciate it.
Mr. Von der Rohe. All right, with that, that will conclude citizens' communication. Thank you all for coming forward tonight. We'll go into items with public hearings, C1.
Item C1 is an ordinance amending the 2022-2023 budget of the City of Victoria and carrying forward encumbrances outstanding at September 30th, 2022.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this item is to amend the fiscal '23 budget to carry over outstanding encumbrances from fiscal '22 to fiscal '23. These encumbrances represent contracts and purchase orders that were entered into prior to fiscal '23 for which goods have not yet been received or services not yet completed as of September 30th of '22. These items are all reviewed with the applicable departments to determine what needs to be carried over, and this action has no effect on amounts budgeted for fiscal '23 as we are just carrying over the budget that was tied to these encumbrances in fiscal '22. And we present this item as a budget amendment just as a matter of financial transparency. Included in your packets, I had two schedules that showed detail of these encumbrances. There's one that's broken down by each purchase order and one that's broken down by fund. And the slide shows a breakdown of some of the major items included in this carryover. As you'll see, most of these are construction contracts, such as UHV Ben Wilson, our floodgate project, the Duck Pond project, et cetera, as well as some professional service contracts, such as the I&I study and SCADA improvement study. Like I said, we do this each year, but if y'all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Janusik. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing for item C1. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step forward to the front microphone. Seeing no one get up, we will close the public hearing. And
I move we accept
yeah.
item C1.
thank you.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're into the consent agenda. I forgot to mention during items from council, we need to pull D11.
Item D1 is an adoption of minutes of the regular meeting on November 1st, 2022. Item D2 is a resolution approving an interlocal agreement with South Texas Central Planning and Development Commission for the purchase of MyGovernmentOnline software for the use in garage sale permitting in the amount of $3,600 annually for an approximate total amount of $7,200. Item D3 is a resolution approving a contract with Pictometry International Corporation to provide aerial imagery for the City of Victoria's Geographic Information Systems in the amount of $69,420. Item D4 is a resolution approving a contract with WCD Enterprises LLC of Fort Worth, Texas, for the mowing and general grounds maintenance of Evergreen Cemetery in an amount not to exceed $56,388. Item D5 is a resolution approving a second contract renewal with Andrew Rodriguez, DBA AJ Shredding, for the mowing of Loop 463 in an amount not to exceed $56,000. Item D6 is a resolution awarding an annual supply contract to Colorado Materials LTD of Nursery, Texas for limestone-based material in the amount of $278,560. Item D7 is a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Civil Corp International for preliminary design services for the North Street Corridor preliminary engineering in the amount of $160,000. Item D8 is a resolution approving the payment of TCEQ annual consolidated water quality assessment fee for wastewater treatment plants in the amount of $114,324.67. Item D9 is a resolution approving amendment to the facilities master plan contract with FGM Architects in the amount of $27,680 for a total contract amount of $216,648. Item D10 is a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Victoria Engineering DBA Urban Engineering for design services for 2 sanitary sewer lift stations at Greens Addition and Wanlin lift stations in the amount of $74,500. Item D12 is a resolution approving a purchase of two 2024 Autocar ACX 64s with Heil Durapack Python 28 cubic yard garbage truck bodies from Chastain Auto Car in the amount of $831,402. Item D13 is a resolution approving a Chapter 380 sales tax rebate agreement with Victoria Mall LP for retail development through infrastructure improvements in amount up to $500,000.
Thank you, Ms. Hilbrick.
I move we adopt consent agenda as read.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. We're into E1. Ms. Hilbrick, I don't think we need the presentation
Okay.
tonight, so.
Read it for you. Item E1 is a resolution appointing council members to the Victoria Housing Finance Corporation Board of Directors.
We have to
We have to
pick up
go
the
back to
item
the
that got pulled from
D11 that got
consent.
My
pulled off.
apologies. I'm sorry. We can go to D11 first. A resolution approving a professional services agreement with Victoria Engineering Incorporated, DBA Urban Engineering for preliminary design services for a Guy Grant reconstruction project in an amount of $102,500.
And Mayor and Council, just to clarify, this resolution does not require an amendment. There was simply a typographical error up in the above the line information we wanted to clarify for y'all, so we reprinted it correctly, and that way you have that in front of you.
And just to clarify, because it was incorrect in the aim as well, that the design service for Guy Grant in terms of the parameters runs from Salem all the way to Bend, Jordan. Well, how it was referenced in the aim was Salem to Mockingbird. So we want to make sure that we're clear that it's the existing stretch plus the stretch that's in the thoroughfare master plan, taking it all the way to Bend, Jordan.
So the online version's not right. We have a printout somewhere.
Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Well, thank you.
Move for approval of D11.
I second it.
All right, motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on D11? Thank you, Ms. Lacy, for that clarification. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Back to E1.
Item E1 is a resolution appointing council members to the Victoria Housing Finance Corporation Board of Directors.
Okay, thank you, everybody that is currently on it, wishes to be reappointed.
Yes.
So if someone could craft a motion in that manner,
I
that would be
move
great.
that we accept E1 and appoint council members to the Victoria Housing Finance Corporation as Ricky, Jan, and Dr. Young.
Okay,
I second it.
all right.
That's what happens when they don't show up too, right?
Appreciate you three serving,
Thank you.
Mr. De La Garza, Ms. Scott, and Mayor Pro Tem Young. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item E2 is a resolution awarding a contract for Riverside Dog Park project to By Grace Floors and Construction LLC for their competitive sealed proposal of $347,000.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight's the night, talk about Riverside Dog Park. So I have a short presentation for you, and then we can move forward with any questions. Just a quick project overview. We'll go over the design and then the projected timeline that we have for the dog park. So just to give you an idea of where...
Have to go a little slower so they can appreciate the dogs that are in the
dogs.
presentation.
These staff dogs?
There we go.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
So Allison, I think, helped with that, right? So the highlighted area that we have is the proposed area for the dog park. The project area is about 4.5 acres. The dog park itself will be a little bit over 3.5 acres. The area that is here that's highlighted is right across the street from the pump house and a little southeast of the Texas Zoo. The project was included and identified in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Since that time, we have worked with Luck Design, the Parks and Recreation Commission. We also worked with Miss Izzy Drain before her untimely passing, as well as Izzy Drain's family and the Girl Scout troop afterwards to come up with this design. We do have a construction proposal that we put out for bid. Those were open from September the 12th through the 28th. We did receive a couple of proposals and we scored those through a review committee. And we ultimately ended up with By Grace Floors and Construction out of the San Antonio area in the amount of $347,000 for the construction of the dog park. And again, we do continue to work with Izzy Drain's family, the Girl Scout troop, and the commission, as well as the consulting or the firm to figure out ways to memorialize Izzy Drain and her contributions to the dog park. The project does include 2 off-leash areas, one of them that's going to be for large dogs and the other for small dogs. The small dog side is about 1.61 acres, while the large dog side is 2.06 acres. We will have an area for the leashing and the unleashing of the dogs before they get into the main area or before they leave the park. We do plan on having a wash area towards the front, a wash station, if you will. We do have a covered area at the entrance that does include some large seating blocks, a concrete loop trail that'll be on both sides of the park. We do have solar lighting as well that's going to be installed around the park and the trail. That lighting is spaced out about every 200 feet. And then with the project, we do have some smaller enhancements to the sidewalks and the parking lot area. I'll pause for a moment.
Didn't look happy.
See what you did there.
So this is a really just a general site plan. The rectangular box that you see it's a little bit darker. That's not identified in this plan as a stress area that we do plan on having for the dogs. There's a dividing fence that you can see that's running in the middle of it, so that we will be able to have one side for the small dogs and one side for the large dogs. It's going to be about 20 by 60. And what it is just really an area for anybody to let their dogs in if they, start to see any stress in the dogs. If somebody doesn't want to let their dog roam in the full 1.5 acres or 2 acres, they can go ahead and unleash the dog in the smaller area as well. But this just gives you a quick, view, aerial view. We have the loop trail that goes around. It's about a 5-foot wide sidewalk that we have, again, on both sides. And you can see at the entrance of it, that's where our parking lots are at, our parking spaces with the enhanced sidewalk, which is that lighter gray color. The parking spaces that we have identified, we have 30 spaces right there in the front. And then we have another dozen or so kind of across the street. This is some first drafts of renderings that we have been provided. The picture on the left-hand side shows the entrance to the dog park. The whole entire perimeter of the dog park would be fenced in with a 6-foot-high black coated chain link fence. The front area would be, which is that off-leash or that transition, is 5 feet. So it's just to give it a little bit of depth and some aesthetic appeal. And then the picture on the right-hand side is a rendering of the actual park itself with a couple of agility pieces of equipment that are in there. That's the portion that Izzy Drain was fundraising for. And so her family and the troop continue to have a link available for paving donations, or brick pavers is how she was going about sponsoring this kind of equipment. So we are still working with them to identify the specific type of agility equipment that will go into the park. So the projected timeline, really going to be a short project within 6 months. So we are proposing a construction contract to the City Council tonight. Hopefully we get that approved, and upon approval, we can move forward with bringing By Grace down and having them commence work in next month. So it'll be the start of December. At that time, we have a 6-month timeline. And so we would be estimating the park opening in May of '23 with the ribbon cutting happening in June. And with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
I thought when we had seen some other renderings that there was going to be a little bit better entrance to the dog park, where, we've talked about a sign over Red River that says Riverside Park, and having a definite font and theme of everything branded the same within Riverside, and then that this would have, like 2 columns and the same arch type thing that says Riverside Bark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are working with a firm to try to get that standard, the entrance standards for all of the parks. And I can circle back around to our consultant and see where we're at with that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And we can always look to enhance, some of that for sure. Mm-hmm. We'll have to pull up the image, but I think I know what image you're referring to.
Yeah. Okay.
Motion to approve item E2.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
E3.
Item E3 is a resolution approving a equivalent match participation of the reconstruction of the Spring Creek Briggs Boulevard Bridge through the Federal Off-System Bridge Program administered by TxDOT.
I don't have a presentation on this one, but basically, TxDOT every year or every other year, they do a bridge inspection. And that's part of the FHWA requirements. They do it for the cities, they do it for counties, and they do it for their own systems. This being an off-system bridge, as they were reviewing it, they found some deficiencies in the actual bridge structure. In addition, it's kind of unique in that bridge consists of a bridge beam and then 2 railroad tank cars that were probably put in there a long time ago. I think that's what's being deficient right now. And what
You
this,
heard that right, by the way.
and part of this is TxDOT used to require a cash match. Now they're requiring an equivalent. If we do something that equivalent, I can't even say that word, matches.
Equivalent?
Matches, I'll just say matches at 10%.
Apparently engineers never use the word equivalent.
Yeah, I won't use that word. Anyway, it'll be we need 103,000. What we're doing is we're gonna use the Dairy Road project. We've already got that in place. We've already got it funded. We've sent it up to them. They're in agreement with that match. So this is just a resolution approving our match as the Dairy Road project being our match. That's it.
So Ken, the 266,000, I think is what you had in there?
Yes.
Okay. When you do the math, the 103 or 104 is 40%, and then the state is putting in 60%?
No, we're not gonna put in a 266. That's part of our project anyway, Dairy Road. We're gonna have to build that road and widen that bridge to put in a sidewalk. That's the cost that I got from the consultant engineer, was that to expand that bridge and put the sidewalk was 266. So we're using that number. It
Okay, so
exceeds
that's not
the
what
match.
the state is matching then?
No,
TxDOT.
they're matching 90% of the 103,000. It's $1 million bridge
Okay,
when it's all said and done.
okay. I thought because that's why we had been putting it off for so long because
Right.
of the cost.
Right. No, it's only a 10% match. Right now, they're estimating that bridge right at $1 million or 1.1.
This is a
Okay.
total reconstruction of that bridge?
Total reconstruction.
So will it be closed?
Yes, sir. More than likely, we'll have to close Briggs during the duration of that project.
So will that cause problems for Chief Fox and Station 5?
I don't think so, but he's here to answer that question. He's going kind of, sort of.
I mean,
It's an easy answer. Answer Station 6.
I mean. Okay. It's not, there is a solution.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I move we accept item E3.
Second?
Is there any further discussion? I just have a question. Do you know when that bridge was built? I guess when Clark School Road was put in, huh?
That would have been, when that bridge was built, it had to have been in the county.
Yeah.
And all the bridges are now HS20. And I did some research. Right now, that bridge is rated at 28,000 pound tandem axle. And a normal bridge is rated at 34,000 pounds. So it's not just, oh my gosh, we better close the bridge. So
Yeah.
it's still in good shape, but they wanted to get this on the program and they had the funds.
Great. All right, thank you. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor of item E3, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. E4.
Item E4 is a resolution awarding the 2023 Residential Street Program, which is a maintenance project, to Brandon Paving Company LTD for their proposal amount of $3,138,791.50.
Short presentation. Going to show you the areas which we're planning on for this year's seal coat work. This is the Queen City area, bounded by Airline, Laurent, Navarro, and Crestwood. We're going to catch that whole area. All of these projects will include some level up, point repairs as we see the areas that may be completely damaged or worn out. One other thing we're going to try to address ahead of this is do some storm sewer cleaning out here. We were told that during one of the neighborhood meetings. We've got that area identified.
And that area is being handled by Keep Victoria Beautiful in the spring? Is our next cleanup area? Sorry to make you get up, Mr. Leesek.
will be doing a portion of Queen City.
Okay.
It's too big to do it once, so we'll split it in half. We're planning on doing the half towards Navarro first, and then the second half will be over by Will Rogers Park. That would be next fall.
Okay, thank you.
Next area is part of the original town site, and it's down by Water Street, Navarro, and we picked up on the other side, you'll notice we picked up Lance and Mastro, some of those smaller streets. It picks up those are in good shape. The one that you see running north-south, the reason it's not in there, that's already concrete. So it's in good shape, but we're covering that quadrant of main streets. The next area is Deer Chase. This would be a thin mill and overlay identified as part of our IMS report in their destination. In each one of these neighborhoods, as we all know, we always do the testing before through an independent consultant to take soils testing, review what can that subdivision take. Is a seal coat applicable? Is a mill and overlay applicable? And each one of these were reviewed during that process. And then we have Castle Hill West, which is a double seal with Onyx. Again, there'll be some level up, there'll be some repairs to some of the really rough intersections, and I think some of the part of King Arthur coming in off Navarro is identified as some point repairs. We did a competitively sealed proposal. Brandon Paving was the low proposal in the amount of $3.138 million. We recommend Brandon Paving, and they'll begin more than likely in December, January, to start the process of level up, point repairs, and then later in the summer, that's when they'll hit the seal coat. That is the best time to always do seal coat. You want it nice and hot.
Ken, is that including all the projects?
Yes.
All the areas?
That's all the areas.
They'll be through with all of them by November. That's what this says.
By November of next year, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Once they get done with once they start the seal coat process, it's quick. It is really quick.
I move we adopt E4.
Second.
Appropriate.
It only took, it's only taken 10 years.
All right. All those in favor of item E4, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. E5.
Item E5 is a resolution approving two separate 6-year street sweeper lease to purchase agreements with Timco Incorporated of Waco, Texas, for a total amount of $676,193.60.
This one seems long, but I'm going to go through it pretty quick. We talked about this during our budget process as far as which is a better way to go. We had been contracting sweeping. This is the change where we want to do it in-house with our own sweepers and our own personnel. And this is just kind of going through how we came up to that conclusion to do it in-house, why it makes better sense. Right now, we sweep about 54 miles of state highways 12 times a year, city arterials and collectors, which is 93.7 miles 4 times a year, and residential streets 370 curb miles a year 2 times a year. That was in the contract. One of the things to remember is the state highway miles have gone up considerably because not only do we have the outside lanes to sweep, we also have the inside median lanes that they added for it. So it's kind of a 4-time sweep. And then we have miscellaneous call-outs. Here's how we came up with the calculations. Standard shift, 10 hours, a lunch break, some breaks in between, travel time and water for the fill up of the truck, end of day cleaning, so it's about 6.5 hours of total sweep time per day. Sweeping 1 mile an hour, operator will sweep about 1 mile. Standard sweeping operation is 3 to 5 miles, okay? So 3 miles an hour, 6.5 hour shift is 97.5 miles, 5 mile an hour is 162.5 miles. And going through the state highways, I'm just gonna go to the bottom line, is 33 days to complete a job at 3 miles and then 20.4 days at 5 miles an hour. Arterials is 19.6, 11.6 days for the 5 miles an hour. And then the residential is 38 days at 3 miles an hour, and then at 5 miles an hour, 28.8. Call-outs, again, we expect about 6 hours, and at 3 miles an hour, and then 3.6 hours at 5. Therefore, state highways at 3 miles an hour, you got 33 days. Collectors, 19 days. Residential, 38. Call-out, 6 hours. Total, 92.2 days. And 2021 has 261 working days. And then I'll just go to the heart of the matter. On 5 miles an hour, you have 55.3 days of operation. We looked at competitively sealed proposal, which was renewable up to 3 years. We budgeted each year $387,000 based on the same sweeping schedule, no special request sweeping. Our proposed in-house sweeping budget was leased to buy 2 sweepers on a 6-year program at $145,852. Estimated annual cost of fuel, maintenance, material disposal for sweepers at $54,000. Add 2 employees at $111,000. Estimated total, budget total was $311,340. And I'm not going to go through these slides again. I'm going to get to the heart of it. The summary: purchase 2 sweepers with Tier 1 maintenance agreements, add 2 full-time employees, increase the city residential sweeping to 6 times per year from 2 times, and then increase the city and collectors to 12 times versus 4 times a year. And it allows us to sweep for special events like Christmas. We need to sweep downtown more often. It gives us that flexibility to sweep the streets and to really attack those residential streets. Jesus and I drove around this past Thursday, and that was a big thing that we noticed is we really need to get after it, and I think doing it in-house will do that. And this resolution would approve the lease purchase of those 2 sweepers.
How do these 2 sweepers differ from the sweepers we've had in the past that were so unreliable?
Great question.
Good question. These sweepers, we did a lot of research. The sweepers that we had in the past were truly a vacuum sweeper. These are regenerative air. These are the same sweepers that TxDOT uses through their program. Corpus Christi, Laredo, San Antonio has begun purchasing those. Austin, they are in my opinion, the best sweeper out there. It's what all the contractors use to sweep. They've got a great maintenance program. They're built in Waco, Texas. They got a good service program, and that's what part of that maintenance program will do. It'll keep those sweeper brooms intact. They'll inspect it, review it. It's a well-built sweeper, much better.
Okay. That's what led us to switch it the last time.
Yes.
It was always down.
Yep.
Couldn't sweep.
Motion to approve item E5.
Second. Second?
Motion and a second for item E5. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. City manager report, F1.
Item F1 is an update on the proposed speed hump policy.
Okay. What are speed humps? Kind of go through this again. Y'all heard this once, but we'll go through it again. It's okay. Raised area in the street to reduce speed. They're about 12 feet long, meaning long from the edge to edge, not width. That's dependent on the street. Edge of gutter to edge of gutter, 3 to 4 inches high. Differs from speed bump, which are abrupt in nature, only 1 foot to 3 foot long. They're very short. Speed humps are typically parking lots, private areas where we really want to just stop them. Where are they located? They're located on residential streets, placed on streets with a 1/4 mile continuous length, regulatory speed of 30 miles an hour, and not located at driveways. And they are kind of difficult to put in narrow lots because of the width of them being 12 foot. They got to be somewhere, and hope that they're just a little bit more difficult to put in there. Things to consider is we've developed a petition where the citizens can come in and fill out a petition where they get 2/3 of the households on that length of street that abuts that residential area where they want the speed hump to agree to one. It's not city initiated, it is resident initiated. Minimum 85 percentiles of speed at above 35. That was one of the things we looked at across a lot of the other policies, whether it be in Texas. That is very standard in most of the places. They don't want just putting these up because the speed may be 31, 32. They want this to reduce the cut-through traffic is what they're trying to do. Traffic count of at least 500 vehicles a day, and then multiple speed humps could be placed on a long street. Funding, we have no local contractors available that can do the hot mix. Necessitates a larger volume at one time to get a best bang for the buck if we were to go contract. In-house, 2 to 3 days to install. It does take away from pothole patching. One of the things that we do have, we have done some speed studies on some streets. Dunbar between Andover and Ashford, which is in Bell Tower, 432 cars. The 85th percentile speed was 28 miles an hour. Country Club at the 6,000 block going southwest was 703 cars, and its 85th percentile was 34. And then going northeast, 723 cars, average speed was 31. King Arthur was 267 cars, and the average 85th percentile was 26. And I know what you're thinking, but
Too many potholes.
I knew that was coming next. That may change. And then Blythe Street, which is a long run, and that's up in North Crest. And that one had 221 vehicles, still lower than the 500. However, it did have the 85th percentile was 35 to 36. And then last but not least, we recently did one for the citizens up in Lake Forest on Auburn Hill. Theirs was approximately 200 cars per day, and the 85th percentile was 31. And what we've noticed is it's perception. If you're sitting out on your front yard and you see that car go by, it seems incredibly fast. And it's going to speed limit. It's going 30, 31. What we're doing proactively on some of these, such as Auburn Hill, is went out there. Well, there wasn't a speed limit sign out there. So that's one of the first things we're doing is we set those radar signs out there to get the speeds. As we're out there, there's no speed limit sign. So a lot of times internal in neighborhoods, there may not be a speed limit sign. There'll be one at the entrance, but if you dive into the neighborhood, there may not be any. So that's something that we're looking into as we get requests. Hey, let's put up a speed limit sign to get that attention to people.
Ken, when you measure the speed limits, do you have the sign that shows the speed that they're going?
No, we try to avoid that because we want to keep it totally inconspicuous.
Good.
So from this, you're looking for a nod that we agree with the parameters of this and we want to adopt this maybe as a policy?
Yes.
Can you put up the criteria, or you don't have the criteria in there?
I can get it to you. It's basically, and we have the policy already written, and it's basically a request application. It's your street, your boundary area, who the person started, and then the names. And it's a simple form. We used it basically, we took some of the other cities that have done it before and used their basic format, but followed our policy. It's one of the ones where the big key issues is the vehicles per day and the speed study is they have to meet those two. They can request it, but we got to get those two done first, I believe.
Of the streets that you mentioned that you had tested, who would qualify?
None of them, because Blythe Street's below that 500. They're right at 420 now. And we could retest it again It may go to 500 or be right at it, but that one wouldn't meet just because of the number of vehicles per day.
What worries me is like you take the 500 vehicle threshold, right? Country Club Drive is over 150% more cars than that threshold, and it's 1 mile per hour below. It is definitely a cut through. Then what are speed humps supposed to do? Reduce the cut through aspect. A neighborhood that size, what would the calculation be for average cars? I mean, I know we've talked about it before when in planning commission, where you can determine what you'd expect the traffic to be. That's why some neighborhoods have 1 entrance versus 2 entrances, because you have a certain amount of traffic that you expect in a neighborhood. I'm just curious, you may not know the answer right now.
I don't know we've ever done actual speed counts where we put out the tubes to actually check. I know it's a lot higher than what you would expect in most residential. That definitely shows it's a cut through.
In a typical residential neighborhood, you wouldn't expect to see that volume.
Right, no, you wouldn't. And that's what I think, that's what the whole basis of these speed humps were for, is for areas where it is truly cars other than the residents going there. And I'll use another example, which I think the median did a huge help for it, was Mesquite. It's a straight shot from Laurent to Navarro. Wide street, not a stop sign on it, and the median shut down a lot of that cut through. But that would have been a good example of a residential street that probably has a lot of traffic on it that's in a residential area.
Well, the medians changed a lot of cut through
Yes, it did. It cut down a whole bunch of that. But it's something we need to look. I don't know. We can look on Country Club. Let's see if we've got speed limit signs out there. There may be 1 or 2, but a lot of times addressing that and getting people to notice that does wonders. I know, we've talked about it at homeowners associations, getting the word out to the people, slow down. It's our neighborhood, slow down as you're coming through. But again, it's the cut through traffic sometimes. It gets everybody.
My hope is that if we're able to do some other modifications on Wagner and everything, that maybe some of that subsides.
Sure.
Y'all put up a bunch of stop signs in my neighborhood, so that wouldn't help?
That stop signs in MUTCD, there's a big red flag that says stop signs are not to be used, shall not be used for speed control. And I know that's when you hear that, hey, let's just put a stop sign to slow them down. If you put it up and it's a non-standard place to stop, people will fly, they'll go through it, and then you'll have accidents. And we look at those. It's very precarious just to throw stop signs up, thinking that that'll work. And the other one is enforcement, of course, to keep those, once, you get a couple officers in a neighborhood and a couple people get tickets, word gets out quick.
I've seen in other states they have speed limit signs that actually show you your speed, just like when you're.
Yes.
And I've seen them with, just like the stop signs that have the LED lights. They're triggered if they go past the speed limit.
We put that on Crestwood.
Right.
Yep. There's options for those, and we could surely look into those. We want to keep the goal, and edge-lit stop signs, a good example. We've got several of those in town. We don't want to make them standard, because it's just going to be another thing that people fly through. Put them in the areas that really have something that we really do need to make it a non-standard thing that does have a problem. And maybe that is an option in lieu of speed humps for now on some of these streets where, let's say it's close to 35, that we can look at some other options, or we get calls on it, we can look at that.
Yep.
And you gave some examples of, obviously some recent studies. I mean, are you aware or have in mind X number of streets that would probably meet the 500 cars and the 35 to 85%?
I think some of the cut-throughs you might have might be Edinburgh. Then you might have Meade that goes from all the people from Woodway And Lake Forest cut through North Crest to get to Target and to Academy. That might be one. There may be others. It's hard to say. It's the traffic counts that you really need to check on.
500 cars is a lot of cars a day.
It is a lot of cars.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it sounds like council's, if I'm reading between the lines, concerned that if we adopt this policy as presented, it's going to result in no speed humps. And so we can always, do some more investigation if you like on like some of those streets that Ken is suggesting to really know for sure, are we policing our way out of, putting speed humps, right? And maybe instead of 500, maybe it's ought to be 400.
I was
Because I think,
wondering-
I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think council expects there to be some speed humps that come out of this exercise.
I'm wondering if there's not some balance, to be nerdy, that Ken can figure out with me on if you're this much above the 500, then your speed limit could come down and kind of keep them in a balance.
I think that's where, one thing to try versus speed humps, just jumping out there and doing them, because once they're in, they're permanent, and they're not cheap. Try those LED edge-lit speed limit signs.
Yeah, try those.
The first place to try it would be, we could try it on Country Club, try it on Blythe.
But
What does it do?
It's not just the speed though, right? It's the cut-through nature.
I don't know that you're ever going to get that.
You don't think so?
That's a trained, I think the best way to do that is what Councilman Lofgren said is, you get it, the street get worse. No, we shouldn't do that. But unfortunately, a lot of times that will eliminate cut-through traffic. I think Crestwood is an example. Crestwood traffic is going to go up.
Yes.
But we don't want to do that, but it's what other ways can we get the people to pay attention and to think? As you're going down that road, they may not notice that speed limit sign. It's just another, they're going home, but if it's flashing, always flashing, it might bring to their attention to at least look at their speed, see what it is.
And if you do slow the people down on the cut-through streets, they may tend to use other streets.
Right,
Yes.
right.
I think you should try it on the neon signs or the LED on Country Club and
Spring
Blythe
Creek.
Road.
Okay.
I
I
think
think
Spring
it's-
Creek's gonna have a high count too.
Yeah.
It's gonna be over 500.
I think Spring Creek is, but is that Julie, is that a collector? I don't know, it may not be, okay, yeah.
It's residential, I think.
I know they're not going too fast under the bridge, so that slows them down a little bit. But that one is
An
going to
S-curve,
increase.
but then it's a
That-
straight
That
over.
one's going to increase when we get that one on our CIP and get it rebuilt. So that speed is going to definitely pick up.
Well, you can go slow on that rebuild.
Yes, we'll go slow. All right,
All right.
we'll get some of those signs, get you some pictures and what they look like.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Garza, you done with city manager reports?
Yes, sir.
All right. Then at this time, call it 5:58, we will recess into executive session and also take a 10-minute recess, so 6:10, before we start that.
The City Council will recess for executive session on the 15th day of November 2022 at 5:58 PM. The subject matter of the executive session deliberation is as follows: Texas Government Code 551.087, 551.072, and 551.071.